Now we come to the time of our presentation. There is, by way of an abridged bio, I'd like to introduce to you Sam Silverman, who proclaims to be the middle-class kid from Jersey who moved to Florida in 2006. He eventually ended up as homeless in 2018, ending up and spending his nights sleeping in Riverside Park, New Smyrna Beach. Now, here to fill us in on the hows and why-fors of his life leading up to and after his homelessness, I bring you Sam Silverman.
All right, big guy, you ready for this? I can keep it honest, you keep me coherent. Good luck to us all. I'm Sam Silverman. I'm just a suburban kid from Jersey. You know, grew up in a nice middle-class suburban neighborhood. Grew up in the early 70s and 80s. Parents split in the 80s. Went through adolescence, living with my father. I was the oldest of five. My other siblings stayed with my mother. And there is this growing spiritual void. I didn't realize that at the time. There are a lot of things that I didn't learn or didn't get taught or I was just oblivious to. And so I tried filling those voids. As a child, it was with cookies and snacks, and I was a little roly-poly kid, and unless I was out riding my bike, and getting into other childish shenanigans. But I was kind of shy, too. And after, this go into adolescence, I was still very much introverted. And a couple of friends brought me to a party, and I got introduced to a couple of sips of blackberry brandy, and ooh, this is fun. We had a good time. And next week, I stole a bottle of something from underneath the cellar stairs that my parents had for guests. And, we got silly, and we had some fun, and we did some stupid stuff, and didn't get caught. The third weekend, stole a big old bottle of Absolute vodka. Oh, yeah, that's the lightweight part of this equation. And stole an even bigger bottle of 151 proof rum. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, my friends saw that when I came over to their house. They're like, look what you do with this. Takes a lighter, creates a big fireball, like, whoa. And I'm going to drink that. Genius. So I take a little shot glass. I got a can of soda. And, worst reaction in the world to just that little shot of alcohol. You think maybe something in my brain would have said, maybe we shouldn't do that again? No. We said, I can't do this all night. I know, we'll just have one big drink. So I went and I found a big plastic tumbler. And it was almost like half the bottle that went in there. And here's the crazy part. As bad a reaction to that little bit was, that big tumbler went down like a pro. Yeah, I lasted about 20, 25 minutes after that. That was my first blackout. A lot of stupid, terrible things happened in the course of that evening. You come to the next day, didn't realize, hey, I'm not at so-and-so's house, I'm home. How did this all happen? Yada, yada, yada. Go through trying to get my head together after dinner, giving myself alcohol poisoning. This is 15 years old. I don't know how alcohol and drinking works on the body. So, yeah, I had to hear all these stories come Monday morning from my friends. Got angry parents, angry dad and stepmom. So you'd think maybe, something rational in your head would say, let's never do this again, No. All right, we took a little break from it, but it started a 35-year career in what me and some other people in recovery call research and development. I was looking for that secret formula, how to add these chemical things, whether it be liquid, herbal, or chemical. How do I create a secret formula to make me happy? Fill this void that I just don't understand how to do it spiritually. I didn't even know that was an option. I didn't know that's what was needed. So 35 years in research and development. And I went through a lot of things. A lot of difficulties, a lot of hurt relationships, family hurt, romantic partners hurt, siblings. Everybody around me got hurt, I didn't know how to stop the bleeding, and I bled all over. 2003, when my father passed away, my alcoholism got way worse. I was killing a bottle or two of tequila like it was nothing, man. And I went out one night looking for weed. I got introduced to crack. And having had settlement money from getting run over, during that 35-year career, I had at one point, I got run over by a truck, and when the helicopter airlifted me to the hospital, I was pronounced dead on arrival. I was with the sheet over me, sitting in the hallway for several minutes before my body sprung up and scared the living out of the nurse walking by. And there's one of many miracles that have happened. But this part, after my father passed away and my alcoholism blew out, went looking for weed, got introduced to crack, and I ended up buying my dealer a brand new Mercedes on the $300 to $500 a day payment plan back then. It didn't take but 3.5 months for him to get the majority of my settlement money. You think somebody might learn after a lot of this and that, and no, some of us continue to run headlong into that brick wall, trying to find that secret formula. And when the secret formula didn't work in Jersey, I eventually moved down to Florida to try and create a geographical change to improve things. Through all that, I kept myself mostly employed. I did other temp jobs and whatnot. I got down here. It was hard getting started, but I finally got to work with a construction company down here. And it started off all right. But then eventually the addictive behaviors were leading me to getting fired. Not once, not twice, but like 3 or 4 times a year with these guys. And they were really good people. They really wanted to try and help me. And it was on October 30th of 2018. And I blew up about some BS, got all loaded while we were working on the road, and they had to deal with me running around on blackout autopilot. The next morning, my boss, Kevin, he had to come back to New Smyrna. He took me with him. He's like, this is it. I'm not firing you ever again. This is the end of the line. We can't keep doing this. This was the first time I heard the word, we can't continue to enable you. You start doing better, and then you slip quickly back into the old behaviors, and we can't keep watching you self-destruct. We can't keep enabling you. And that night is the first night I spent homeless. He kept my toolbox and the clothes some extra clothes I had. He kept them in his garage for me. But I had nowhere to go. What money I did have, I ended up blowing it on meth. Because you're just out of control. Don't know. Oblivious to the spiritual answer to the chemical problem I created. So that was my first night homeless. And I don't like to spend too much time talking about the drug-a-log, the drunk-a-log, but there it is. That's the relatable experience. We get past that. So we come into homelessness. I mean, before this, I could barely keep an apartment. Sometimes I lived in motels and paying that exorbitant amount of money, but nowhere near as exorbitant as what I spent destroying myself chemically. The sleeping on that picnic table bench night after night, and beginning of November 2018, I found they had church lunches. I could go somewhere to eat. I ran into an excellent person that was working with an outreach group trying to encourage people to take an opportunity to learn about fiberglass. Was I'm trying to think of the right term. It was an opportunity to learn something new to help you get out of being homeless. And I made the connection with that person, and that was a saving grace. I was homeless, but not hopeless. I could see that there was a way out, even with all my inner workings not firing right, a lot of crossed wires. But I could see a little hope there, and that somebody was out there caring and trying to make things better for other people. That was pretty amazing. And she's a pretty amazing person, too. She got a pretty amazing guy. It's over 7 years ago. And at that time, I got introduced to some of the 12-step programs, the AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, and Narcotics Anonymous. And it was a step in the right direction, but it didn't solve my problem quickly. It took over a year and a half of being homeless, and a lot of false starts, a lot of white chips and white key tags taken up. If any of you know what that is, the white chip and the white key tag, they're white because it's the sign of surrender. That's your surrender chip. That's when you're willing to look for a new way out of the old problems. So, I'd get a little time, I'd fall back. It was a terrible cycle, similar to what I went through before, but now I'm doing it from a park bench. And I had opportunities to go to a sober living house, but I came to realize when you're not ready, you're not ready, and I don't want to burn this opportunity. So I don't recommend it for anybody else, but being homeless was something I needed. It was at rock bottom. Carried very little material possessions. I got clean drawers and clean socks. Okay, and that's enough. I didn't need to worry about the material possessions. I got to focus on the spiritual solutions that these groups like AA and NA and the people at the churches, just showing me by example to be of service, to be of value to others. That's where it's at. And if I can learn these things, I might be homeless, but I'm not hopeless. People are there for you. And, I remember getting looks from people, sleeping on the benches or walking around with other homeless people and seeing the looks. And you know what? We didn't get there because we were geniuses. We didn't get there because we did the right things and we're just victims of circumstance. But most, if not all, are dealing with things they don't know how to solve. And the world and the people in it need a little more patience and acceptance with each other from both ends of that spectrum. Because people that are suffering, it's like trying to comfort a wild animal. You might lose a finger or two trying to do the right thing, and it's a shame. And people look at them like they don't want anything to do with them too. But the people that go out try to be of service to humanity. I remember hearing it said somewhere, in serving others, we serve ourselves. And that's been a big influence on my forward motion into recovery. And the more I'm there to help somebody else, the less I'm being concerned with selfish intentions. And these were the things I had to learn while I was sleeping on a picnic table bench. And I am grateful for that opportunity. I'm grateful for having survived. Like I said, I don't recommend homelessness, but if you're going to do it, don't go into the woods because the church will give you a tent and you can hide somewhere. You hide away from reality and society when you do that. And I chose not to take that tent, not to go into the woods. I stayed in the park like a feral cat, kind of, somewhat close to humanity. And I got to wake up with the most beautiful sunrises. I joke around that, I got beautiful sunrises. I had a roof over my head, no walls, so when the rain came, but you know what? I did have things to be grateful for. And I try to put those grateful thoughts into actions of gratitude. And what little I had, try to share with others. There were a lot of people in New Smyrna at the time that were homeless. And we all had similar problems with chemical solutions to the spiritual problems. And just by going to these meetings and trying to do things a little better, and some of these others would look at me like, how come you're all happy? How come you're in a good mood? Why do you have this? Why do you have that? I'm trying to do things different, trying to walk away from it. And they could tell when I slipped and fell. It was not always easy. And like I said, I fell many times. I stumbled getting through that process. But it took what it took. And I finally went on a last meth run. There are stories about ninjas and stuff and shadow people, and Some of it's kind of funny in a movie way, and the reality of it is you're so divorced and separated from that reality, and living like that is no longer an option. And that was the bottom. And so I did finally go into a sober living house here in New Smyrna on January 7th of 2020. And I was able to start doing things a little better. I got a job washing boats at a place, paying rent, buying my own food, just learning to adult, After playing run around like a kid on a campground for a year and a half, I started to do a little adulting. I got 6 months and 17 days clean while I was in there. Yeah, well, part of it was I was doing some of the work, but it's not as much as I should have. And basically, sometimes I would forget to be miserable. A lot of times I was mourning the life I left behind. There was a person that I had gotten involved with while I was still messed up. And she died from an overdose. I didn't. And that pot simmered on the corner of the stove for a good 4 months of that 6 months and 17 days that I had cleaned. And when my eve of my 50th birthday came along, it just boiled over. And I remember standing outside. This is crazy because you're sober and you're getting clean and you're learning these better ways of dealing with things, but all of a sudden you just throw it. And this is the insidiousness of addictive personalities. I stood in front of my room, there were 2 other guys, and I said, I know it's wrong, I know it's stupid, it's not going to be the drug-fueled orgy I want it to be, but I'm going out and I'm doing it again, just because of these resentments, this inner compulsion that I thought I had beat. Yeah, well, you ain't got nothing beat yet. And so I ran around. I used to never get paranoid. I ran around for that week, tweaking on meth and scared as all the time. I couldn't sit still for a minute because I thought this was after me, that were after me. Just craziness. And it took getting lost and having all my belongings fall into the intercoastal. Money, clothes, phones, all that, because I was trying to get away from these ninjas and stuff, because you get so separated on that crap. And it actually took a good officer from the New Smyrna Police Department. He had helped me some years before that, when I first became homeless. And when other cops I thought were being jerks, he was a gentleman. He spoke with me calmly. He brought me down off of the bell tower. And he showed up there again for me. So I got to take a little trip to Stuart Marchman, spent the night in there. I got to calm down, and when the counselors wanted to speak to me, they were like, just give him a sandwich. Let him sleep for a little bit. You have a much better person to deal with. This is how this guy understood me. And there's a longer story. We could do a Q&A after that. About that. I got to just let that meth casing, just like a chrysalis, shatter and break off of me. And like, I don't have to be like this anymore. I'm getting a deeper understanding. There's a little bit of growth, finally. And when the counselors finally did speak with me and they asked, what do you want to do? I was like, I don't want to keep running around like I was. I don't want to be sleeping on park benches or trying to get into motels and living, this hand-to-mouth crap. I want to go back to my program. I want to go back into sober living. I want to have a stable place I can keep clean clothes at. I can keep some food at. I could work on becoming a better person. I can work on understanding why I have these feelings and these compulsions, and how to combat them may or may not be the right word, but I don't have to suffer from them. I can find ways of dealing with them, and I have a lot of good people that are willing to help me. It was amazing to go from homelessness and hopelessness to finding something that I could have faith in. You know? And it doesn't matter what brand name you put on it. The AA, NA, this church, that church. It's the concept of people coming together and working towards a better reality. And not only am I grateful for my friend, having been there when I first came into homelessness and showing me that there are people looking to help. She recently introduced me to all of you. And I've gotten to see some excellent presentations about the beginnings of some of the church leaders that I caught a few weeks ago, and just the environment and the feeling that vibe, that aura here. You know what? Being in the company of good people, it encourages me to keep working, to be good people. Like I get to see other people being good, and like, you're all pretty happy looking out here. I don't see anybody scowling. And you know what? That's where I want to be. And I've been working on that too. I get new guys come into that sober living house, and I try to encourage them with the honesty of my story. And a lot of my stories get a lot of laughs. Like I said, there's the crazy movie view of it, but then there's the hard reality of you're so separated from reality, and that creates relatability with them. And some of them come from nice, posh detox centers. Some come from the streets like I did. And some continue to move forward in the positive direction. But there's a high attrition rate. A lot fail. A lot fall down. But then again, I had to stumble so many times before I could start getting it right. I had, like I said, I had 6 months, 17 days clean before I went out on that last run. That was August 1st of 2020. I could say that I've got 5 years, 4 months, and 6 days. Okay, 5 days. The day's not over yet. But I'm pretty sure I can make it through this one without falling into a chemical trap. And I'm pretty sure I could keep moving forward and being of service to others and not being self-serving. And I want to thank you all for letting me share a little bit of my story and sharing your time with me and listening patiently and looking all happy and stuff, man. You keep doing it, man. I'm so glad for all of you here. Did I keep it kind of coherent for... Thank you, big guy. All right, that's enough out of me. We can do a Q&A after, because, yeah, I'm sure there's plenty to ask. Thank you, Mike. Thank you all.